All right, Shalom. Call Haloyim, La Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rahar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Shalom to you fellow laborers out there doing the work in truth and in sincerity, especially during these times. Shalom to the Akwaf that believe as well. A hearty shalom to you other laborers and believers that are scattered abroad, even if you're among the heathen and are like the heathen who are speckled Israelites. To the whole household of faith, which is the elect, I want to say shalom to you all. Back at you with another quick Lord willing edifying lesson. And as you know, Trump just declared this openly that he wants to use the U.S. cities as training grounds for military. So they're getting ready to cut the cities off by way of the troops. All right, pretty much. And we've been warning, I don't know how many times 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter and the 16th chapter come out, but primarily 2nd Ezra 15, where it clearly describes, the cities being shut down, and pretty much, if you're not paying attention, you're not taking heed to the warning, all right, you're not going to make it, man. All right, just simple and plain, man. All right, let me see if I get a precept real quick. The trumpet has clearly been blown, and if you're not taking heed, hey man, it's on you, man. All right, let me see here. I'm in the wrong chapter, Shalakia. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3. And see here. Ezekiel 3 and 17. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Excuse me. I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth and give them warning for me. Right. So the Lord set up his servants, the prophets, to give the warning, to blow the trumpet, which is the sounding of the alarm. And the alarm is to alert you that danger is coming. Okay. And one thing about our people is they ignoring the sounding of the alarm or sounding of the trumpet. All right. And it's to their own detriment. Okay. Okay, here we go, right here. This is what I was thinking of. Ezekiel 33 and verse 2. Son of man, speak to the children of thy people and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon the land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for the watchman, if when he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people. Right. So we're the ones that's telling you that, hey, this is what's going on according to biblical prophecy, or according to the Lord's word. And we see it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, and we warn you about it. All right. Verse 4. Then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and taketh not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. See? So your blood gonna be on your own head if you don't take heed to the alarm. All right, matter of fact, let's read the NLT. It says, then if those who hear the alarm refuse to take action, and what's the action you're supposed to take? Return to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua for all you Israelites out there that are the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American people today, but we know that only a remnant will return. All right, it's already written. Verse 5, they heard the alarm but ignored it, so the responsibility is theirs. If they had listened to the warning, they could have saved their lives. See? But if the watchman sees the enemy coming and does not sound the alarm to warn the people, he is responsible for their he is responsible for their captivity. And what they're trying to do right now is make you perpetual slaves by by putting the MOTB in you, the CHIP. They will die in their sins, but I will hold the watchmen responsible for their deaths. See? So this is the reason why we constantly sound the alarm. All right? We're constantly sounding the alarm because that's our job. Okay, let's get Corinthians. This is 1 Corinthians 14. Let me see. Let's go to the point. Verse 8. For if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? And you know, the sound that we're giving you, all right, or the alarm that we're giving you is clear. Okay, and you go into the history of our people, there are always, you know, different sounds of the alarm or the trumpets, according to, you know, what was going on. Excuse me. So it's always according to what was going on, what was taking place. You had some visitors, you had danger approaching, you know, high holy days, you know, different sounds, okay? What's going on now is the alarm of war, all right? And who's declaring war? Excuse me. Esau is. Esau, Edom, all right, the red man in the Bible that proclaimed himself or the self-proclaimed a white man, okay? That's who's preparing war, all right, on you tribes and also on his own people, okay? Because what they just passed today is eye-opening, all right? He's getting ready to move in, and you got to keep in mind too, they're trying to forward their agenda, all right, their enterprise, which is what? The NWO. And a part of that, again, is to have everyone receive the MOTB, which is the RFID technology, okay? Whether it be the one that go in your hand, which is the CHIP, and they got one that goes into the brain, the neural link. That's a part of their enterprise, okay? So let's see what's going on here, because what happened is Trump called for him and his Secretary of Defense, Hegseth. They called for a grand gathering, basically, of all the top brass in the U.S. Armed Forces, you know, and this is something to pay attention to because this is going to directly affect, you know, you tribes and the rest of the people out there. But I'm sounding the alarm for you tribes. Okay? We're watchmen into the house of Israel, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American people. All right? Yasha Allah. So with that being said, let's play the clip. Fair use, courtesy of PBS NewsHour. You know, of course, my videos are not monetized, only for fair use purposes, criticism and, you know, educational purposes. So with that fair use, let's jump into it and see what's going on.
National Guard, who outside of D.C. are led by state authorities. But that is not President Trump's vision.
It's a war from within. Controlling the physical territory of our border is essential to national security.
And this more
the war from within. The war from within, that's going to fall on everyone, because you got to remember, and it's crazy, right? Now, me and the elder Ayash was just talking about this just a little while ago on the phone. And we also talked, you know, as a camp inside the virtual class, about, you know, how they're going to come against all these so-called extremist groups, and we're lumped into the same category as well, because, hey, the truth is extreme to a wicked society. Right? Now, you got Antifa out there, you got the KKK, you got the, they call them the radical left, you got the radical liberals, what have you, you know, different party systems. Okay, you have BLM. All right, you have which is Black Lives Matter, and you have different things out there. You have the Palestinian protesters, and basically everyone is deemed a domestic threat. You know, everybody deemed a potential domestic terrorist. Why? Because for one, they just they're just slandering us because we the ones that teach the truth. We the ones that teach the Bible. So we have nothing to do with extremism. But like I said, the truth is extreme in this society because people are so accustomed to living and believing a lie. All right. So when they hear the truth, it is extreme because it goes against their whole indoctrinated thought process. All right. The whole cognitive function is disrupted when they hear the truth. All right. So the war from within is the citizens that have a voice of dissent. All right, against the government, meaning what? You have a talking point that goes against the current government. All right, which that government is Babylon, the Babylonian administration, which is headed by, Donald J. Trump. Okay, and that's what they mean when they say a war within. So let's play a little more.
He warned what would happen to officers who resist.
I'm going to be meeting with generals and with admirals and with leaders. And if I don't like somebody, I'm going to fire them right on the spot.
So they getting rid of you. They getting rid of top brass, man. This dude Trump, man. You know, the Lord stirring things up using this man. All right. And what it says in Proverbs, it says a man's goings are of the Lord. How then can a man understand his own way? All right, bear me 1 second. Shalaki, I'm back. Like I was saying, a scripture say, a man's goings are of the Lord. How then can a man understand his own way? And another one is what when deep sleep falls upon man, he sealeth their instructions, as found in the book of Job, the third chapter, I believe. So the Lord is working on the minds of these leaders. Matter of fact, it's a good one right here to get right here. Proverbs 21, right? Proverbs 21. And it reads, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whatsoever he will. So, the mind of Trump, he's the current king of Babylon. His mind is being controlled by the Lord. All right. So that's what it is, man. And Yahweh Shem Yahushua got him turning up that dial as far as the cruelness that he's coming with. Okay. So let's play a little more of that clip.
And this morning, he warned what would happen to officers who resist.
I'm going to be meeting with generals and with admirals and with leaders. And if I don't like somebody, I'm going to fire them right on the spot.
But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign.
For 45 minutes before President Trump, Secretary Pete Hegseth told the gathered generals and admirals that he was, in his words, ending the war on warriors.
In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay.
Hegseth today issued 11 new memorandums, many about fitness. Requirements for each combat specialty changed to, quote, the highest male standard only. Physical fitness tests for all service members would be changed to, quote, male standards, and grooming requirements would be enforced.
That's, you know what? Let me get this real quick. See, Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, tells us what? There's a time and a purpose for every season under the heaven. And it mentions what? A time of peace and a time of war. We're in a time of war right now, as you can see. I mean, look at the talks that's coming out of the Pentagon, out of Washington. Joel 3 and 9, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, and it's talking about the heathen, right? Prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near. let them come up. So what's going on? They're preparing for war. You know? And why you think that Trump's first term, he was talking about putting that big budget, it was a 700 some billion into the military. And then look at Joe Biden, he didn't go against it because they're on the same side. They had two horns and they spake as a lamb. They had two horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon, Shalaki, which is the political system. The Democrat Republicans, as you know them today, but they're on the same side because if Biden was against it, he would have, he could have wrote a executive order and took it out. But no, he was with that. He was with putting that money into the military. And then Trump came back in office and he could just continue on. See, a lot of these policies, all right, that Esau is pushing, all right, are all the policies that he's pushing are for his his enterprise, man. All right, and he's going to declare war on the people because why? You got to think the American people, they have gun rights and they have guns. All right, it's so many guns on the streets of America, and most of them are either like gun owners, all right, so-called white gun owners, and that's their blessing, the sword, and they're just gun lovers, right? Well, they got a saying is, only way the government take their rifle is off their cold hands, meaning what? They're dead. You got Die Hard NRA, which is like I'm about to butcher it, like National Rifle Association. They wear their hats around proudly, all that shit. Why? Because they know that the government can wage war on them. So it says, verse 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I'm strong. And that goes into the weak countries or weak nations. All right, they are strong now because they have nuclear capability too. All right, but the point is what? Produce weapons of war because it's time for war. And this is why you always going to see military drills when you turn on your news. You look at the online articles. What have you? Look, they just had a big gathering with the top brass of the U.S. Armed Forces. Okay? Because they're preparing for war. Okay? Let's see here. A little more.
It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
Hegseth also vowed to overhaul equal opportunity, military equal opportunity, and the inspectors general who investigate misconduct. Hegseth has long argued that the Biden administration was too focused on ensuring military diversity, but critics of today's speech say Hegseth's version of lethality is misdefined.
By changing the standard to the highest.
So, that's pretty much just that video. Okay, excuse me. Another article. Trump says he wants to use U.S. cities as training grounds for military. See? The U.S. cities. Let's read a little bit of this, right? President Trump on Tuesday proposed using U.S. cities as training grounds for the armed forces and spoke of needing American military might to combat what he called an invasion from within. Yeah. So, this is literally declaring war on the people. And you're not supposed to use the military against the people, according to their constitution. But hey, what's the Constitution good for, So you're a hypocrite, man. He don't even abide by his own law. And the Constitution is supposed to be the supreme law of the land. See, this man is a hypocrite. Addressing an audience of military brass abruptly summoned to Virginia, Trump outlined the muscular and at times norm-shattering view of military's role in domestic affairs. Right. He was joined by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who declared an end to woke culture and announced new directives for troops that include gender neutral or male level standards for physical fitness. So, see, a part of that speech is that, and it didn't show in the video, was that he's going to attack woke culture. Now, what's the meaning of woke culture? We can define this real quick. Let's web search it. Woke culture. What did AI say? The term woke culture refers to a state of being politically and socially aware, originally rooted in African American vernacular English as an imperative to stay woke and remain vigilant against systematic injustices. Well, yeah, hey, the scriptures, teach you to be vigilant. Matter of fact, that's really not nothing. That's really not nothing to hold on, let me see. Vigilant. Okay, kind of. Yeah, being vigilant is not a bad thing. All right, check this out. 1 Peter 5. And be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Well, there you go. The word vigilant, when you look it up, right? I know what it means, but I want you to see what it means in case you don't know. All right. Let's go to online etymology. Let's go here. Vigilant, right? Vigilant. It says watchful, awake, and on the alert. Attentive to safety, right? So you're supposed to always keep watch. Okay? And the scriptures speak about us keeping watch, and let us not sleep as do others. Let me see. Or slumber. Let me see. Let me see. Let's get this real quick. Children of the light. Okay. This is 1 Thessalonians 5. And I started 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with a child, and they shall not escape. But ye brethren, because that's what's going to happen, man. They're going to use that peace and safety tactic and get this MOTB. You're going to be okay. You want to survive, get this MOTB, right? Now you're going to take it. Now you're going to be having derision for taking it too. All right. Verse 4. It's like, let me continue on. It says, For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Right. Because like a woman, all right, that's going to labor, and then, the scripture speak about what? In 2 Ezra 16, how the labor pain slack not a moment when they come, right? And that's how these events going to take place, as far as Jacob's time of trouble and basically, mowing down of you people. All right, including the tribes, man. Okay? And that's why I say that they ain't going to escape. Only ones going to escape is those that are found written. And the ones that are found written that may be caught, it's because that's the lot that we have to go down, as far as being beheaded or being a martyr, all right, for Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, or even being thrown in prison that we may be tried. And all we have to do is just be faithful. Be faithful to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. We're gonna be all right. The Lord take care of the rest. Verse 4, but ye brethren are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Right. Because why? We awake. All right. The Lord has awakened us unto this knowledge. All right. So we're woke, you know. Verse 5, ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Right. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Right. Be vigilant. See? So there's nothing wrong with that. You're supposed to be vigilant. You're supposed to be woke. Okay? But they demonize woke because why? They want you to be far as you tribes, they want you to remain in the congregation of the dead. They don't want you to know the truth. That's why out of all of our people, who pose the biggest threat is the men of the Lord. Why? Because we're not doing anything physical against this man. All right. What the scriptures say, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. All right, let me get that real quick. Is that 2 Corinthians 10 and 1 Corinthians 10? Let's see here. 2 Corinthians 10 and 4 says, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds. See? So our weapons of our warfare are not carnal, meaning physical. This is a spiritual fight. You got to fight against your adversary in the spirit. Is it going to come a time where your adversary going to come upon you and you gotta survive? Well, you have a right to defend yourself if somebody's trying to take your life. You know? But we're not out here trying to promote any militant type of things. We're just teaching the word. And for that, we're slandered. That's why they're lumping us into the same boat as these domestic threats. This truth is a threat. Verse 5, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High. And we have the knowledge of the Most High, all right, that he's given us, which is the understanding of his word, man. And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach. See? So we're not coming at Esau carnally. We're coming at Esau spiritually. And guess what? This is the biggest threat you can ever be spiritually. This is why what it says in Romans 8 that the carnal mind is an enmity with the Most High. You got to come to the Most High in spirit and in truth. And ask and beg the Lord to give you understanding of his word and also deliver you from your enemies. Because your enemies get ready to roll on you. Okay? Using the U.S. cities as training grounds. Come on now. It says the dual messages underscored the Trump administration's efforts not only to reshape contemporary Pentagon culture, but to enlist military resources for the president's priorities and decidedly domestic purposes, including quelling unrest and violent crime. Well, if that's the case, right? Well, that's easily to tackle because you got all this federal law enforcement. You know, how you can't do your job. It's because you don't want to do your job. And he even said himself in the video I heard the other day. He said they're all professional actors. You know, he's talking about Antifa. He said they're all professional actors. So you guys got, you either might begin with your elites. You got professional actors out here that's portraying themselves as, someone that is, protesting for rights. You said they're being violent, but then you lumping everybody else in the same boat. See? Oh, speaking of violent crime, look what's going on right now. All this violent crime happening is 99% so-called white male crime. Just had my man, let me see. He just did a drive-by on the boat. Look at this. Arrest made after boater opens fire on North Carolina waterfront bar, killing 3, injuring 5. This dude drove through on a boat and just lit it up. You know? Oh, he had a church shooting in Michigan over there by Flint. You know? Just had this one dude, he shot 2 police officers and they swept it under the rug. Yeah, I seen that video earlier. It was like a month ago, almost about 3 weeks ago. He did that and they swept it under the rug. You got a lot of these isolated incidents of so-called white male shooting up things. All right, shooting up schools, churches, public places, bars now. See? But, of course, that's not your angle. Your angle is to tie in us Israelites, whether they be in the world or especially us, because that's your real, that's your real angle. Even though they are going to lump a lot of their people into this group as well, this domestic terrorist group or domestic threat group, however you want to word it, same thing. You know, because why? It's going against the elite's New World Order. It says we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military. Trump said, "Oh, dangerous cities, huh? Well, who's committing the crime? Who's committing the crime? Who owns 84% of the guns? Was it 84 or was it 94% of the guns in America? So-called white people, Edomites. And what they're doing right now. A lot of mass shootings, man. We should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military. Yeah. See, when you got shit happening like out there in Utah, Oregon, and shit like that, predominantly Edomite cities, say it's okay. It's 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 abnormal according to them, random, right? When we all know, even growing up as children, that so-called white boys or students were prone to do a Columbine shooting. It's always been their fucking tactic. They've always terrorized the people, then, and the people being us, Israel, Jacob, and then guess what? We the problem. Jacob the problem. Jacob been terrorized the whole fucking time you've been over us, from the late 1400s up until now, and you've been fucking terrorizing us the whole time. From the elites on down. Okay? See, and this something they don't want you to know. Now, we were just talking about Judah P. Benjamin that set up the Ku Klux Klan. And you mentioned that, we got to silence him. Y'all know. That's Amalek, man. Amalek. One of them tiny hats. Set up the group of people or a particular sect of you Edomites that was terrorizing Israelite communities. Start with the so-called Negro on down to the so-called Mexican, especially the so-called Negro, being the tribe of Judah, the so-called blacks here in America. It says, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, Trump said, naming several U.S. cities led by Democrats. And that's what you want people to think. The Democrats, it's the radical left. No, man. It don't matter what side they come from, the left, the right, Even though a lot of these shooters been right wing, on the radical right wingers, it doesn't fucking matter. They're all wicked. They're all on the same side behind closed doors. They all do the bidding of the elites. It says, including Portland, Oregon, which is a predominantly Edomite town, which he described as a war zone. Trump, and you don't see, he don't speak about Portland, Oregon the way he would speak about Chicago, Memphis, D.C. And I'm not taking up for these cities saying they're not dangerous or whatever. Crime dropped like 25, 30% among the tribes in the inner cities. But see, he want that issue with you. Well, let me get this real quick. Amos 1:11. It says, thus said the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword. And you can find that account when he well, first of all, well, he rose up on when he was Cain, he rose up on Abel. Abel was righteous. He murdered Abel. And then when he came back as Esau, and he realized that the birthright which he sold had value to it, and then realized that Jacob got the blessing too, it was all set up in the spirit for Jacob to get that. But he got mad, and guess what? His whole mindset was to murder Jacob. And the Lord put on the spirit of Rebekah to tell Jacob what was going on. So it says, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. And you're going to see how much he kept his wrath, all right, when he's sending these troops on your cities. Oh yeah. Trump has announced plans to send troops to Portland against the wishes of Oregon governor, Tina Kotek, and city officials. He noted at another point, we're under invasion from within, no different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. So this dude is stirring things up, man. And guess what's going to be caught in the crossfire? You tribes, because guess what? They still hate you tribes. See? So the cities are getting ready to be cut off, man. Let's get them precepts and I'm getting ready to get out of here. All right? The prayer of Azariah, all right, verse 9. And thou didst deliver us into the hands of lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of the Most High, into an unjust king. Yeah, Esau. Look at Trump. Unjust, cruel, all the above, man. Hey, come on, man. He's showing you, man. What more do you need to see? It says, and the most wicked in all the world. Who's the wicked? Esau, Edom. Malachi 1:4. See? The wicked, all right, bear the rule. That's why the people are in great mourning. And people are going to mourn more once you bring out them troops. Oh yeah, them troops gonna come out. It's gonna be crazy. 2 Ezra 15:16. For there should be sedition among men and invading one another. Right, and this is getting ready to happen. All right, sedition is getting ready to start. And Trump he's antagonizing it by sending the troops, because the troops coming into the cities, that's declaring war on the citizens, man. Clearly. Read it. Read the Constitution for yourself about the military and the citizens. It says they should not regard the kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power, right? because the government gonna fucking shut down, man. Trump already a dictator, you know, and not because the word dictator is a bad thing. He's just an evil dictator. The word dictator itself, for you ones that don't look up words, all right, dictator. You look it up, right? Dictator, Roman chief magistrate with absolute authority. So go back to Rome, okay? Probably the Greeks too. Dictate, to say often, to say, speak, pronounce solemnly, to show. What else it says? Absolute ruler. All right. It says that of one who has absolute power or authority of any kind in any sphere. Okay. So that's all it simply means, man. One who has rule. Well, Trump he's in the king's seat right now, you know. And what he's doing, he's causing things to fucking stir up. That's the Spirit of the Lord working on him to do these things. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Why? The fucking military troops, man. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled and the houses shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid. Why? Because troops going to be out there. Troops are bred for war. Not dealing with domestic disputes or domestic situations or none of that. The troops are made for war. That's what they bred for. They get trained. They don't get trained how to, you know, solve an argument between a man and a woman. They don't get trained on how to deal peaceably. No, they train to kill. And what happens when you got UN troops here even? Mercenaries, right? But for all that, guess what? The Lord is still going to set up a standard, because you got to think, with all this shit going on, all right, the men of the Lord, we live out among the, people. We got here living in, regular lives, like any common, citizen in America. We work 9 to 5s. We don't have, we're not rich men. Okay? For the most part, we're not rich men at all. We're just average, Israelites as far as living wise. This Lord may have where a certain brother or two may have came into some, money or inheritance, whatever, and they able to help the flock. But for the most part, we just, as far as working and where we live average lives, man. All right. But guess what? When they come in the cities, they're gonna come and approach your house, man. You gotta be ready, man, to either make a move or whatever the will of the Lord is for you, to endure. You gotta endure it as a good soldier of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Isaiah 59 and verse 19. And matter of fact, before I get to Shalakia, let me grab something else. Matter of fact, I'll hold it, Shalakia. Isaiah 59 and 19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai from the west, and his glory from the rising up of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Right, and that standard is the Lord going to give his men spiritual powers. Because these devils going to be like mad. Man, let me get that. They're going to be like madmen. Okay. This is 2nd Ezra 16. And verse 70. For there should be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. Who fear the Lord? The elect. Okay. So it's going to be an insurrection upon us. Verse 71, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Right. Because why? They're going to come down with great wrath. This is what Esau doing, coming down with great wrath Because he only have a short time in the moment, man, to try to push his enterprise, which is the NWO, and the Lord's going to come in and interrupt all that shit. So these days are going to be shortened, man. All right? The days are going to be shortened because Yahweh Bashim Yahushua going to make the days shortened because of his elect. Okay? And that's and that's what's going to surprise Esau when the Lord intervenes. See? Matthew 24:22, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened, right? The Lord is going to deliver his elect out of these troubles. Even if you're beheaded, all right, your head put in the guillotine, right? Or you have to be a martyr for the Lord. Hey, when the Lord show up, guess what? You're going to be risen first. You know? You're going to be beamed up first, man. So you have nothing to worry about. The spirit of fear shouldn't be upon you because the Lord have not given us a spirit of fear, man. All right, 1 Thessalonians 4:16. Let me read this and I'm going to close. I kind of been all over the place, but hey, Lord, when you've been edified. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 15. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep, yet the ones that die in the Lord. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of the Most High, and the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. See? There you go, man. You know, that should comfort you. You know, all you Akim out there. All right? And you few Akwaf that believe as well. You're going to have some elect lady out there. You know, elect ladies. But this should comfort your spirit to know that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to be with us. Hey, he said that, lo, I will be with you even to the end of the world. This is the words of Yahweh Shah. He said, I will be with you even to the end of the world. And we get ready to, well, shit, we at the end of the world. You know? Verse 17, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, which are the chariots, the so-called UFOs, and they're in the news like crazy, to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. So there you go, man. And that's what we're waiting on. We're waiting to be beamed up, to be changed out of these vile bodies, these filthy bodies, and to be, you know, and to be immortal and put on these new bodies, all right, and be with our Lord, man, and rule over these fucking heathen, man, and get things in order because this shit is out of order, man. So with that, all praises and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Shalom to the Lord's elect. And I want to say Shabbat Shalom. This is a day of atonement. And you have a blessed rest of your day and evening. Shalom.